Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Merck webinar on strategic frameworks. This is episode 4, the strategy canvas. Now, just a quick background. We have been doing a few episodes on strategic frameworks, and you can always go back to our website at merck.com. You can look at the first episode, which is an overview of strategic frameworks. And then episode 2, where we spoke about the SWOT matrix and we spoke about moving from SWOT to TOES. And in the next episode, in episode 3, we spoke about backcasting, and that is something to do with futurology, with future studies. Today, we will be talking about the strategy canvas. So welcome again. My name is Mohammed Nayal. I am a partner at Merck Training and Consulting. About this webinar, today we'll be talking about a really interesting tool, the strategy canvas, and how this tool can help you in your strategy planning initiatives. This is a tool that is very visual and can illustrate the strategic profile of the entire sector and show how your organization, current and potentially future players, compare to each other. Just a very quick background on Merck Training and Consulting. Our company started in 1958. We provide courses all around the world, in the GCC, in Africa, in Asia, in Europe, and the Middle East. We have over 300 courses and 3,000 clients in 26 different categories, such as accounting and finance, HR, interpersonal skills and development, digital innovation, and so forth. We are also certified by many different international bodies like the Institute of Sales Management, ISM, the Chartered Management Institute, CMI, ILM, SHRIM, and the Project Management Institute. Very quickly about myself, I'm a partner at Merck Training and Consulting. My background, I studied a very, very long time ago engineering. I have a bachelor's and master's in that, and then I did an MBA at UC Berkeley, and now I'm doing my doctorate in education. Hopefully I will finish this year. Work experience, I worked in the consulting sector at McKinsey. I also worked in the financial sector at HSBC. I also co-founded a data mining startup called Correlation. Before I joined Merck, I was working in the Dubai government and the Abu Dhabi government. So enough about me, let us begin. So strategy is about competitive advantage and how do you remain sustainable, making profits. And you get to this competitive advantage, you achieve this when a sufficient number of buyers prefer your organization's products or services over those of competitors and rivals. And if that competitive advantage can be maintained over time. Now, that is not only for the private sector. The public sector also needs to think about competition because the public sector does compete, maybe with other countries, maybe with other cities, and maybe with other ministries. So there always is some semblance of competition. So it is about being ahead of the competition. How do you remain ahead? Oh, everybody's running and everybody's running as fast as they can. But how do you remain in front? So you need to differentiate yourself. You can't just move with the pack. If everybody is doing the same, then what happens to the profits of the company? Well, they tend to go down and everything is treated like a commodity. So really, you need to think about, as a company, how do you differentiate yourself? So let's give some examples. So for example, what you can do is you can strive to be the industry's low-cost provider. So you can be cheaper than everybody else, but if you want to remain profitable, what you need to do is reduce your costs, and then you can pass that on to the consumer. So let's take an example of supermarkets. So if you take a look at global supermarkets, supermarket chains that are in more than one continent, Walmart, for example, comes to mind. They're very big in North America, and they do have also branches in Europe. If you think about Carrefour, the French giant, which has also branches at different places in the world, especially in the Middle East. Now, if you look at airlines, the Southwest Airlines was the first budget airline that began in the 1960s. And then there were a lot of other airlines that followed suit. For example, in the Middle East, Air Arabia, Tayran Al Arabiya, was the first one to start, I believe, in the late 80s or early 90s. And it's all their competition. It's all about squeezing cost, and how do you squeeze cost so you can pass that onto the consumer. Now, if you're just joining us, well, welcome. We're talking about how companies can differentiate themselves from the competition. So if you take a look at cars, for example, and if you want to be the lowest cost provider. So if we look at cars where the quality is acceptable, but the price is much lower. So Korean cars do that quite well, where the quality is now quite acceptable, and Hyundai and Kia are a good example. Now, some people bring up the example of Chinese cars. And yes, I agree that Chinese cars are cheaper than everyone else. But you also have to take quality into account. And although Chinese cars are becoming better and better, there's still there's still some way to go until they achieve the quality of Korean cars. So Korean cars are in that sweet spot where the quality is acceptable, but the prices are quite cheap. Now, another thing you can do is outcompete your rivals on something that is different about you, a feature. So if we talk about reliability in baby products, and if you ask most people, and the first thing that comes to mind is Johnson and Johnson. And they're known for being very good when it comes to baby products. Now, if you take a look at motorcycles and a company that looks at itself as king of the road when it comes to styling, to style, if you want to ride a motorcycle in style, it's Harley Davidson. So Harley Davidson motorcycles, they're more expensive. They probably cost you more in terms of maintenance. They're not faster than the competition, but they really have style. If you think about watches and top of the line prestige when it comes to watches, Rolex comes to mind right away. Now, it doesn't necessarily tell the time better than the competition, but it's stylish and it looks really good. And that's why it commands a premium. People are willing to pay thousands of dollars more because they perceive it as a much better watch, a much more stylish watch, and the brand is amazing. If you think about automotive engineering design, so it's about engineering design, Mercedes or BMW comes to mind. Or when we think about a wide selection of online products and somebody who sells or is trying to sell everything, the first thing that comes to mind is Amazon. When I want to buy something online, the first place I go to is Amazon. If you can't find it on Amazon, then you go somewhere else. Another way to differentiate yourself is to develop a certain market niche. So you focus on that niche. So a company that really built expertise when it comes to online auctions, and it's not everywhere, it's really big in North America or Europe, is eBay. They carved out that market for them, and really they do the best. Virus protection software. So there are companies that really, that's their expertise and they're known for that. So McAfee comes to mind. Now, premium coffee, and the first company to really do that, where people were willing to pay a premium and more price for a cup of coffee, was Starbucks, and that's how they built themselves. Now, TV channels, and this is one where a lot of people question, and they go, TV channels. So if you had to think about a highly specialized TV channel, what would that be? And you can join us on chat, and you can type in what you think a highly specialized TV channel is. Something that is extremely focused. What do you think? Any ideas? So sometimes people come up and say, well, news channels, but there are a lot of new news channels. There's CNN, there's BBC, there's Sky News. There's a lot of channels that do that. Maybe a more specialization is National Geographic, but still you have the Discovery Channel. You have other channels to compete with that. So one thing people don't know a lot about is the Weather Channel. So the Weather Channel, and all they do 24 hours a day is talk about the weather. And yes, there is a market for that, and they're actually quite profitable. You can also focus on developing capabilities that your rivals, your competition can actually imitate and can't copy. So for example, high quality production systems, Toyota is really known for that. I mean, there's even the rumor, and I don't know if it's true, is that a Toyota doesn't make a lot of money on its spare parts. The reason is because it doesn't break down and people don't need spare parts. Or you can develop your capabilities when it comes to managing large crowds. And Disney does that very well, where they have tens of thousands of people who attend their park, and they have these headquarters, and all they're trying to do is manage the crowd. So you can go there and you can spend a lot of hours. There could be a lot of people, it could be highly congested, but you can still have a good time. Personalized customer service in hotels. There are a lot of hotels that are starting to do that, but the Ritz-Carlton comes to mind. Or if you want to, a capability that Aramex, for example, has done is focusing on the GCC and focusing on next day delivery. So let's talk now about the strategy canvas. And the strategy canvas is all about how are you different? So the strategy canvas is a central tool that was developed by Chan Kim and Renee Mauborgne, and it's in their book, The Blue Ocean Strategy. It's a tool that shows the factors that companies compete on, and it shows how the different players in the industry compete and how they compare to each other in that different space. And what you can do is use this tool to compare yourself to the competition, or show how you can potentially separate from the competition. So this is what a strategy canvas looks like. And in abstract, of course, I will show it to you. We'll do an example together, and it will make this clearer. But what you want to do is you want to plot the different competing factors. So for example, price, quality and time. And then what you want to do is raise some things, lower some things, cancel out some things, and create other things. So let me give you an example. So in the place where I work in, there's a lot of sand next to us. So it's the business bay, the area where our company is located in. There's still some spaces where they're building. Buildings, apartments, hotels, for example. So if I had to ask you, if there's some land in front of me, I can see it from the window, and if I had to build a hotel that's, let's say, that's 15 levels, how long do you think that would take? So a lot of people say maybe 2 years on average, if you're lucky. Sometimes buildings take much more. Sometimes you can do it in a year and a half, but a year and a half is quite quick. So what I want to do is show you this video, and I want you to pay attention to two numbers. There will be two numbers on the screen. One number will show how long it took to build the outside, and the second number will be how long did it take to do the finishing. Right? And if you combine those two numbers together, you get how long did it take to build this hotel. And I want you to guess, what do you think those numbers are? Do you think it is days? Do you think it's months or weeks? What do you think? So let's watch this video together, and let's see how long do you think it took to build this hotel. Okay, so there were two numbers there, and there was a number of 45, 46, and a second number of 90. So altogether 135. So what do you think that number was? Was it days, weeks? What was it? Months, years? So that was actually hours. So it took them 136 hours to finish this. So that was less than a week. Now, normally you would expect a building to take 2 years probably to finish. And what this company has done is it has carved out for itself a niche that is quite different. So what we're going to do now for the real estate development sector is that we're going to draw a strategy canvas for the sector overall, or for companies in this sector, and then we're going to also draw it for this company, and we're going to see how it is different. Now, if you look on this slide, what I've done is I have two lines, red and blue. Red denotes the current companies. The reason why it's red is because they live in a red ocean, and a red ocean where everybody's fighting and they're competing and they're driving down their profits. So in a sense, it's bloody because of all this fighting. What you want to do is go to a blue ocean where it is serene, it is really nice. You're in seclusion, there's no one around you. The first step that we have to do here is we have to think about what are the different competing factors. And this is what will tell us how to draw this, or show us how to draw the canvas. So the first factor, the first competing factor that everybody competes on is price. So that's what we really need to do. We need to think of price as one of the factors that companies compete in. Now, the second thing that companies compete in is probably quality. A third factor is, of course, time, right? And maybe there's another factor on kind of design, right? One is maybe employees or the people who work there, right? This is, do I have higher quality people or not? And maybe another thing that you can come up with is probably technology, right? Or we can say maybe material. All right, so let's assume this, and there's a lot of thought that needs to go in to think about what would be those different factors. So we're going to start out, first of all, with the red. And the red, again, denotes your existing companies. So when it comes to price here, we need to think about, will it be high or will it be low? So if you think on the left, this is the level, and it's abstract. You need to define for yourself what is high and low. So let's say, the price is average, right? The quality of buildings is average also. Now the time, is it average or high or low? This is one where it would be quite high. You need to really realistically wait for years for something to start. Now, when it comes to design, typically the real estate development company or your contractor will come to you and say, we'll build you anything you want. Do you want a large building? Do you want a small building? And there can be quite a bit of customization. So they'll do the design that you want for you. Now, when it comes to employees, is that high or low? Here you have to think about the majority of people who work in the construction industry, low skilled, not really high skilled. So, and especially, let's say in the Middle East, for example, it's very labor intensive and the salaries are not that high. So here really the skill of the employees is not that high. And when it comes to material, I mean, the material is let's say average. So this red curve denotes the industry. So here now, what we're going to do is we're going to draw the curve for this Chinese company. Now, the easiest thing is to go to time. Is it high or is it low? It's actually quite low. They built this in a record time, and that is a major differentiator. Now, the quality, let's say the quality is really the same, right? It's not going to be very different then. There are certain standards that you need to abide by. Sometimes some people might say, well, the quality is a little bit higher because the material that you use, but that's going to be a little bit, we're going to be talking about the material here. Now, what about the price, higher or lower? It's actually going to be much higher. And the reason why is this company will come and say, if you want a hotel in 6 days, you can only come to us. We are the only company in the world that will do this for you. Nobody else will do it. Now, if you want to, and we're going to charge you more. Why? Because you can start renting out your hotel in a month instead of in years. So you as a customer can make more money. Now, when it comes to the design, is it high or low? It's actually quite low. Now, what do I mean here by design? I mean by customization. Now, why? Because they don't have any customization at all. You can take the red hotel or the blue hotel, but everything is pre-designed already. So they won't allow you to do any customization. And of course, that might be bad for some clients. Now, when it comes to employees, they do not use cheap labor. Actually, all of their employees are highly paid, highly trained. You need engineers here. And when it comes to the material, they use material that is actually steel instead of concrete, and it could be a little bit higher. They use different technology. So if you look at the different curves here, you can see that they are quite different. That this company is very different than the competition. If you want something built in 6 days, they're the only ones to go to. Now, some of you might question, say, well, is there a need really to build something in 6 days? Actually, there is. So if you think of in terms of natural disasters, if you think of if there's a large number of refugees and you need to build buildings quickly to house them, when it came to COVID-19, you had to build a hospital in a record amount of time. There's only a few companies in the world that could do that for you. So this is how the companies here look quite different than each other. So if you think of it, what we did is we raised the price. We didn't do anything on the quality, but when it came to the time, we actually made it quite down. Yes, we had to sacrifice design and customization, right? But what we did, we had to also raise the quality of employees and also raise the quality of our material. Now, there are other things that you can do. Potentially, what you can do sometimes is you can do an X and you can say, look, I am not going to do any customization whatsoever, and then that becomes a X. Or what you could do is something that we do as a circle is create something new. All right, so we're running out of time here, but let me just give you an example of other things that people have done, that you can call them different things, but what's really important is that you get these factors right. And as I said, you can create some things and you can delete others. So that's just a quick summary of our strategy canvas. Remember, there are 4 things that you want to do. It's not just about increasing and decreasing, but also it's about creating things and eliminating others. So as we come to the end of this webinar. I just wanted to remind you that you can check out our planning and strategy courses on our website. Specifically, we have courses on strategic thinking and planning, analytical thinking. We do have a course on a IIBA endorsed certified data analyst or business analyst. We also have an advanced course on strategy called the Certified Strategist, and that's coming up in May, actually, next week. We do have it both in English and in Arabic. Our next webinar will be next Thursday, same day, same time, and we will be talking about McKinsey's horizon of growth. This is a strategic framework that looks at how organizations can look at building their future. So thank you very much for joining us. And if you missed any part of this episode, it will be soon posted on our website. So thank you very much. And I hope to see you in future sessions. Thank you. Goodbye.
Merck.com